Ella, and I'm dramatic and problematic.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's not in.
Sorry about the awful lighting today, but I'm just in my room. I wanted to do like it's gonna be kind of ranty, and I'm just gonna be talking about my top movies for 2021. I've like finally solidified the list. I'm going back and forth a lot, but this is what I'm like gonna go with. But these are movies I feel like I'm gonna watch like a lot moving forward in my life. So that's why I kind of like, I'm really happy with 2021. And it's only 4 movies. Before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with all my content. Guys, by the way, there's gonna be spoilers here for the movies I'm gonna be talking about going forward. So just be advised, it's not a spoiler-free area. Before we talk about the 4 movies that are like my favorite movies of the year, I'm gonna do an honorable mention. I was thinking of being like a top 5, but there's not that much I want to say about this movie, and it's also not one that I'm gonna be like looking forward in the future and watching and rewatching. Unfortunately, did not make the cut. I really like the movie. I really like the concept of trauma haunting you instead of like actual ghosts. I don't know, it's really interesting. I recommend it to everyone. I feel like not a lot of people have watched this movie, so I definitely think you should watch it. And okay, Anna Taylor-Joy, she is in that, and she is amazing in everything she's in, and I love her. So anyways, on to the top 4 movie of the year, The Suicide Squad. It's honestly such an amazing movie. I watched it like 3 times. No, 4. I've watched it 4 times. Margot Robbie, like my absolute girl boss. Oh, I love her. She's the best Harley Quinn ever, and I'm just obsessed. So there's that. I was like really looking at this and being like, is this really top 4? Like, there's no way I can't place it above. And there's not, because I like the other movies way more. Yeah, like Rick dying, I was upset. I know he's like kind of a wet blanket of a character, but like he's really hot, so I was into it. And he's he's genuinely like a good person, and that's the only one of those people who was genuinely a good person. That's why I liked him. Nanaue, literally, I love him. And I'm really excited because the Peacemaker show, I think, is coming out soon as well, so looking forward to that. But yeah, I really enjoyed Suicide Squad. The first Suicide Squad movie actually used to be like my favorite movie. I know that movie wasn't great, and so I came into this one with like really low expectations, to be honest. And then at first I was like, I don't even like that. Like, I'm kind of disappointed. But then, you know, I thought about it more, and like I did really enjoy it. And then I watched it again. I was like, oh my god, that is such a great movie. And then I wanted to watch it again, so I forced the person I was seeing at the time to see it with me again, and we went to see it together at the drive-in twice. But also, the thing for me, John Cena, like I've never seen him in a role that like suited him, and I've always been like, you know, he's okay, but like I just don't see him as an actor. And then Peacemaker, like this role was made for him. Even like the theme overall, I thought it was like a really well put together movie. To me, DC had ever found a sweet spot with movies. It's always been like very underwhelming, and so I feel like this is the first like movie that they've had that is kind of like really hit that good spot. It's because of James Gunn. I think he's a pretty good director. I know there's some controversy with James Gunn. I'm not really sure what the controversy is about, so I'm not gonna like say anything about him either way. I think he's a good director. I mean, and I think it was really important, which again was a failure from the previous Suicide Squad movie, is that it was an R-rated movie, and so it just went there in ways that like the MCU can't. For example, it was giving Deadpool 1. I feel like there was some of that vibe, and I feel like people have tried to recapture the vibe of like Deadpool, and even I feel like the first Suicide Squad movie tries to do that, but this kind of did it in its own way, because like the characters are very different. So the way that Suicide Squad is crude is not the way Deadpool would be crude, if that makes sense. So I thought they pulled it off really well. Perfect movie for me. Okay, it's maybe not perfect. There's a couple things I would change. Anyways, let's move on to top 3. Tick Tick Boom. Oh my god. So this movie, in case you haven't heard about it, this is a musical that's based on Jonathan Larson's life, and Jonathan Larson wrote the musical. And it's basically, he had this musical that he had wrote, and it got put on, and you know, everyone like really enjoyed it, but was like, oh, can't wait for what you do next, because it wasn't like commercially gonna be successful, or that's what they thought. So the musical wasn't produced, and he'd been working on it for 8 years. He ended up making a one-man play about that experience, and that is Tick Tick Boom. And it used to be a one-man show, right? But when he died, it got turned into a three-person show, and they kind of bring that aspect from the musical into the movie, which is really cool. And I think it utilizes like all the musical aspect of it and all the movie stuff. Like, it meant it really well, which is an accomplishment, honestly. So I kind of saw this, I was like, oh, I really need to watch this. And I've been obsessed with the soundtrack. There's 2 songs in particular that I'm like, I downloaded 3 of them, and there's 2 that I really like, and the 3rd one I also really like, but I haven't been listening to a repeat as much. And one of them is Boho Days, and the other one is Therapy. They're both really good. Also, Vanessa Hudgens is in Therapy. She's one of the main vocalists in the... I really urge you guys to watch this. It really inspired me. I like been going through like maybe not the easiest period of my life, and Jonathan Larson really inspired me, because I'm going into creative field as well, obviously, and so it's very nerve-wracking. He was a genius. I don't think I'm a genius like Jonathan Larson. Maybe I am, guys. Like, what do you think? Am I fucking genius? I can't. Anything else I want to say about Tick Tick Boom? Johnny can't decide, decide. I really need to like watch the original one, because I know there's videos of Jonathan Larson performing. Now for top 2 spot, we have a really big contender to the crown, Encanto from Disney. Oh my god, guys, it's literally, it might be my new favorite Disney movie. Like, what? Maybe not. I've watched it like 3 or 4 times at this point, and I really like this movie. I think I relate a lot, familial relationships and all of that. My family do be crazy, like, I don't know what to tell you. It's such a good movie. The first time I watched it, I was crying the whole fucking time, because I was on TikTok and I saw the one song, Surface Pressure, and I was like, oh my god, I really need to watch this. And so the next day I watched it with my brother, and I was just bawling the whole movie, like the whole fucking movie. I think I stopped for a bit in the middle, but most of the movie I was crying my heart out. I don't know, I was really emotional, and it really just hit me in the right spot that day. And I just related so much to everyone, I feel like, struggling, because I struggle a lot with like family relationships and stuff. Very intense watch experience, and like right after I watched it, I was like, oh, this is definitely my favorite Disney movie. Now with some distance, I'm like, you know, there is some mistakes, but then like I rewatch it and like I explain away those mistakes. And then also some things that bother me from the fandom, because like the fandom's already so big. Please don't try to make the characters LGBT. Like, I think it's fine sometimes, like Elsa being gay, like that's such a like fun headcanon that everyone has. Like I feel like it's just taking away, like you have to make every single fucking character part of the LGBTQ+. But that's not the point. Like Isabella's arc, for example, she doesn't want to marry him because she doesn't want to marry him. It's not because he's a man, it's because she doesn't want to marry that man in particular. Maybe it is because she doesn't want to marry any man at all, but like we don't know that. And it's already like doing such wonders for representation for like the Latin American community, right? And here it's like this Latin American family, and it reminds me of my family, because everyone's like, you know, on my mom's side, for example, all my aunts and uncles, they're all a different skin tone than my mom and like than each other. Anyways, before I keep ranting about Encanto, let's get to our top 1 movie of the year. I mean, honestly, you probably guessed by now, because like, what other movie have I not talked about that is like super popular right now? No Way Home. Of course, is my top movie. I'm gonna warn you again, even though I've warned it before in this video. If you don't want to hear spoilers, click out now, because I'm gonna be spoiling No Way Home. Andrew Garfield was in it, and Tobey Maguire too. Sorry, I know it's like, I'm low-key a hater. Not really. I still think Tobey Maguire is a good actor and everything, and he's a good Spider-Man, but he's not Tom Holland, and he's not Andrew Garfield. For me, like, let me just explain myself. My top Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield, because, sorry, he just is. But I don't think he's the best Spider-Man. I think the best Spider-Man is Tom Holland. And then also his like character arc, this movie I think also solidified him as the best in my books, because like he ends up leading them, and it's literally a shift and they work for it, and I think it's really great. I also think that I hope we get The Amazing Spider-Man 3 movie, because like, why wouldn't we? That's what the fans want. Y'all been sleeping on The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm telling y'all, the fucking villains. I was so happy because I watched all the Spider-Man movies in chronological order in anticipation of No Way Home coming out, because I knew they were gonna be in it. I know it was like a whole thing where they're like, oh, don't get your hopes up, blah blah, and they were doing all these interviews pretending that they're not in it, and so I caught all the villains and I knew all the like references and everything. I've heard the complaint that like maybe if you haven't seen the movies before, your enjoyability wouldn't be as good, and honestly I don't give a fuck. Like, I have watched all the other movies. Like, I'm sorry if my children watch No Way Home and they're like, who's Andrew Garfield? Like, why? He was my childhood Spider-Man. Like, I was like 10, 12 when the movies were coming out. Not Tobey Maguire. I really have a thing against him. Green Goblin, I think that's the best Spider-Man villain. I mean, let's talk about the Green Goblin. Like I said, best villain. It was amazing that they brought him back. Him with Aunt May, and just seeing like Willem Dafoe be broken like that, it was so good. And then when the Green Goblin comes back out and it's like evil, oh, it breaks my heart. Oh my god, I've heard people say that they thought it was gimmicky to have Aunt May like say that with great power comes great responsibility, and I'm like, no, I don't care. I teared like a little bitch. I actually didn't cry at all the first time I watched it. I was like, and then the second time I was like, I think it's because like I watched Encanto the day before and all my tears had run out, and then I rewatched it again. I was like, okay, I'm working now. The Sandman I thought was like okay too. He didn't do much, but you know, he's always been a good character, a good villain that was like sympathetic, and I liked it. The one that pissed me off a lot was the lizard. I don't know, Dr. Owens, is that his name? Why? Like, what? He's such a redeemable character in the movie and he saves Peter. Why is he treated so badly in this movie? Like, why don't we get more character? Like, the electric guy, like, he gets a lot of character, which I thought was dope because he was really weird and I did not like him at all in the original. His whole arc in that movie is so awful, no offense. I mean, I think that for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 to have worked better emotionally, they should have introduced Harry in the first movie. Unpopular opinion, but I think Gwen dying is a good, like, it was well done. I think it's a good twist for the character, and that's why I'm hoping there's a third movie, because it'd be really interesting character exploration. Anyways, we were talking about the electric guy. I actually liked him way better than in the original, so I think the job there was done well. He was redeemed in my eyes. Octapian or whatever, the octopus guy, yes. I mean, he was always giving me good guy, anti-hero in the original Spider-Mans. He was never evil, really. It was the things controlling him, and like, he was just being cranky, like, and he even snapped back in the original, so I never doubted him for a second. I was like, yeah, get your coin. I mean, why not? And I know there's like issues with like a couple of the villains and stuff like that, but Willem Dafoe just like did such a good job in like Doc Ock or whatever, and Ned with his powers. Oh, the scene with MJ falling when he saves her, and it's like basically reliving Gwen's death. It was so great. I was like really in awe of that moment, and the second time I watched it, I like teared up so bad because it's just so emotional, and I'm so glad he got that redemption. What it sets up, it also is very intriguing to me, so I'm really looking forward to seeing the next movie. And then hopefully, like, not only sets up the next Spider-Man movie with Peter, like, not knowing, and I'm gonna get a little bit into theory territory here, warning, but like, since Ed Brock, the piece is left in Peter's reality, so someone could be Venom. It's opening the door up for Venom in the MCU. My best friend I was talking to her about it yesterday. She's like, yeah, so Eddie Brock, like, he doesn't know who Peter Parker is, obviously, but the symbiote does. And if it gets onto someone new, that new person might know subconsciously Peter Parker is Spider-Man, even if they don't know Peter's Parker, and then that's gonna be the enemy. Which is like, oh my god, this is like, that's people playing 4D chess. This is what J.K. Rowling needs, like 4D fucking chess. Anyways, that was my favorite movies of 2021. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to stay updated with all my videos. Let me know in the comments below what were your favorite movies of 2021. Yeah, I hope you guys are having a fantabulous morning, afternoon, night, whatever time it is for you guys. I love you guys so much. Mwah!
She got the posture of a superstar. She looks so fly in those Gucci slides. Yeah, yeah, I wonder what she hides under her disguise. Yeah, 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 yeah. And all the girls are